I'd like to start by asking you a question that is on the minds of so many Americans who are hurting right now. And a lot of them are upset. They're angry that Congress has essentially gone off on, summer vacation, off for the August recess without passing another stimulus bill. Do you think Congress should be back in session hashing this out right now?
Kristin, thanks for having me. Glad to be back with you in Leland. Yes, I'm disgusted that Speaker Pelosi walked away from the negotiating table when we know we have a consensus for things we must do to continue to help Americans cope with fighting the virus and getting our economy back to full capacity. We need to extend the Paycheck Protection Program. We need to have the economic stimulus payments. We need to resolve this issue about unemployment compensation. We need to make sure our schools have the proper funding. All those things Speaker Pelosi walked away from, and I lay it straight in her camp on that basis. I appreciate the president's efforts at an executive order to try to help Americans. That's good, but that's not the way we need to operate. We need to legislate this success to continue to fight the virus.
To be fair, though, both sides walked away from the negotiating table, the Democratic leadership and the White House's top two negotiators. But either way, the president is off in Bedminster, New Jersey. The Senate and House have adjourned or on recess until after Labor Day. But if they are able to pass some kind of deal when they come back, it would just add to this already massive deficit. And I'd like to pop up the numbers right now because I know you're somebody that gets very concerned about adding to the federal deficit. And just take a look at these numbers right now. I mean, the amount that the deficit has jumped since the pandemic is just, it's really incredible. But if you take a look at one of the latest Fox News polls, you see that so many more Americans are now saying that they need help from the U.S. government. 36% now say that they want the U.S. government to leave them alone, while 57% say they want the U.S. government to lend them a hand. That is a big increase from where we were just 1 year ago. So how do you reconcile the two, Congressman?
Well, I do reconcile the two, and that's why people shouldn't walk away from the negotiating table. Speaker Pelosi's spending requests are unrealistic given the report that you just made. She needs to compromise on her total funding demands. I think House Republicans and Senate Republicans are willing to spend more money, but in a more targeted way. And if we need, as we fight the virus and get our economy back open, need to come back to the table, we can do that later in the year. But to leave people hanging like she has, I think, was a strategic mistake, and a mistake for millions of American households that are still not adequately employed and back to work. So that's my view on that. As it relates to the deficit, you bet. We're going to end this fight against the virus with the largest debt to GDP since the end of World War II. And again, Congress, both House and Senate, will have to come together with the president in the coming year and think through how to best prioritize our spending. It's why I focus on it every time I come back to a new Congress. I urge our Congress to debate the balanced budget amendment in order to make sure that we prioritize the spending of hard-earned American taxpayers.
I only have a few seconds left, but I just want to make sure I get in one question about the U.S. Postal Service. It now saying that 46 states may not get ballots in time before the election. At the same time, though, you have President Trump saying that he does not want to increase funding to help the post office in the middle of a pandemic. Would you support more funding for the USPS?
Well, just like President Trump said yesterday that he would support additional funding for the Postal Service if Speaker Pelosi will be reasonable and come back to the negotiating table to complete this coronavirus bill.
But is this the issue to really stand your ground on when you have an election in the middle of a pandemic just 80 days away?
Well, the point is that people want different things out of this bill, so let's do it. Let's meet in the middle and get this work done. And if people believe that the Postal Service needs more funding, I would vote to support that if that meets the needs of the American people. But let's be at the negotiating table talking about it.
I think that's something that all Americans can agree on. They would love for everybody to get back, sit down, and hash this out. Congressman, thank you so much.